this is Anita from Mindoro, and this is bringing to you another YouTube, which is about how to use Procreate for home decor design. As you know, we really love Procreate as an app, and we believe that anyone can learn to design using Procreate. And we especially love to use this for home decor and home furnishing design. So follow along with us now as we take an old Chinese box, that's an antique, and we turn it into a newer version of it. And you can see how simple this is. First, we go to Procreate and we'll set a new canvas. We just set it as per the screen size, and now we're working with the canvas. And then we're going to now insert the photo, and we have already prepared here a photo that we found online of an antique Chinese wooden box that we want to be able to use the shape for. So first thing we'll do is we'll set the pencils or the pens that we'll be using. If you have any question, we have a great blog on this and a great YouTube channel on this that shows why we use what pencils we use and why they work best for this type of method. Because a pencil can make all the difference in the world in how this is going to work out. You need to have a pencil which will be clear and where you'll have no lines at all. So now we're doing the bottom part there, you can see, and we've already filled in the color. So you can move it closer if you need to. You can move it around the page. And one of the most important things that you need to do whenever you are working with this type of project is you really have to set layers and different layers, because if you don't, it can kind of get a little bit messy. And so here we're using like another color because it's just easier for us to see. Sometimes we use a bright color. This will not show up on the end. And now we can be able to really kind of see what we're doing. And as you can see too, when you draw the lines, that the lines become straight, and you need to make sure that all the lines are really connected. So if they are not connected, then you will have a problem and that it won't work. So you can see here, I didn't do it quite on the right, the layer didn't quite work out, so we can do it again. So it's very easy when you have a mistake with Procreate that you can start over. It doesn't take a lot of time. If you work on the layers, you can just erase a layer. You can just double tap twice on your screen, on your iPad screen, and you can go back to where you started. So don't worry about making a mistake or having a problem, because actually Procreate makes it really, really easy to be able to clear up any of your mistakes that you might have. So you don't really need to at all worry about any kind of mistake. So you can see here that it looks like we pretty much have it all set. And when it's all, when the box is complete box, and you can put a color in. So again, as another reminder, again, you need to go in again, and you need to set another layer on this, or again, you will have a problem. But again, you can move it around. And here you can see I'm even drawn on part of that box, and this isn't going to show at the end. So I don't really care, how the shape is. What I care is the shape that we're going to see now on the box, and I'll show you later how you can very easily cover this up so this will not be shown. So, so you basically would work with the same thing, and you'd go in, and there you go, you have another layer. Okay, so now I need to kind of turn that layer off because I don't want to see it. And actually, I made a little bit of a mistake there, if you didn't notice it, where I have one item on the same layer, which is okay for this because of the fact that I'm going to be using the same color for both layers. But if you were not using the same colors, it would be a problem. So now I can go in with another layer, and I can start tracing the front square of the box there. And again, you hold the pen down. If you hold it down on the screen, it will normally straighten itself out. So you don't need to worry about making a completely straight line. You can adjust the line after. That's another great thing about Procreate, is you don't really have to be able to make straight lines or full circles. The program will help you do it. You can see there I held down my pencil and it went straight. And so you can see how really, really straight that is. So this is really a great thing about being able to get sharp edges on this. And again, you need to really make sure that the entire square is filled, or it will not if there's any type of problem there. Like you can see there, it's straightened out again. If there's any type of problem there that it's not, then it will not fill up. So you can see right there how it did not. So I need to go back and look and say, well, where is the square not going? Where do I need to adjust it a bit? You need to sometimes take two of your fingers and kind of scan in onto it and to find out exactly where the square is and why that square is not a complete square. If you don't have a complete square, the clipping mask will not work. So now I'm going to go back again and see whether or not I can get the color in. I'm making sure I have the right pencil on, that's not the problem. I sometimes check that again, and there you go. You see, I was able to get that. So, so this really, it really does make a difference in what pencils and pens you use, and that you can really make this be completely square. So now that we've been able to do that side of it, we're going to now start with some of the other sides. You can see here I'm looking at the layers. I'm going to turn that bottom layer back on just to make sure that it's in the right position, which it is. And now I need to go back again, and I might need to be able to do, I might have to do a few adjustments here. I'm going to look for a new color pencil because I really like to work with different colors. And you'll see at the end how the colors do not at all show up. So here we go. We have another layer, and we're going to do the side again to make sure that the side is straight. We can straighten it out. One of the things I always do, which I always forget myself, is I always forget to add new layers. And even for me, who's done a lot of Procreate, this is something I really have to remind myself. You really have to teach yourself to keep adding layers for every single side and every single piece you do in this design process, because if you don't, really at the end of the day, it can get really messy. You can see right there, it's not quite closed up. That will be a problem. So you can scan into each of the corners. You can make sure that it's all completely closed to be a complete square. And there you go. You can see right there, you have it right there. Now, if I turn on that other, if I turned on that other bottom layer, now you see there'd be no problem at all. But there's a little bit of a problem on this. I don't know if anybody caught this, in that I did not add a layer. And I just said before that I sometimes forget not to add a layer. So I'm going to go back again, and I'm going to redo it again. I took that one layer off, and I'm going to redo it again and make sure that it is a layer, because it will just be so much easier when I'm adding the colors that I have the complete layers. So that's, like I've said before, even me who does a lot of Procreate, I sometimes forget myself to add the layers that I need to add. So now we'll see whether or not this is completely secure everywhere. And if it is, then the pink color should be able to go right into that box, and there it has. So you can see, like, most of our box now is pretty much getting completed. The main thing we need to look at now is the handle. So again, we need to add a layer. And I need to also take off that bottom layer because I want to be able to kind of see what I'm doing for the handles. So that's also important. So I can go back again and check the layers, those layers that are off, and make sure that they are okay. Another great thing about Procreate, if you watch some of my other videos, and you can see how we're able to move things around, you can move the layers around, and it really does make it very, very easy for doing this type of design. So here we're going to go again, and we're going to start now and to be able to do the handle. And we will again do this into different layers because we want to make sure that we do all the layers that are the same, or that we actually layer this. So if you think a bit about Procreate, think of it like it's Photoshop, for those of you that might know Photoshop, you see. But that layer did not work on what I did. It's not quite closed up. So again, I got to go back again and find out what happened. Why isn't it closed up? What's the problem here? What do I need to do? What do I need to change? And then I need to go and adjust it. And there we go. It went there on that side. So again, layers, you need to layer again. Just to remind you again, because I forget the same thing, pick a different color if you can. Just will make your life a little bit easier when you're doing the actual design process. And now I'm going to do the side part of this one. So you can see how when I've used a completely different color, how it's so much easier for me to see where I'm at least drawing on the paper. And if I hold it at the top, then I can adjust it and I can move it around and get it exactly where I kind of need it to be. And then I go down the side there, move it around, and then go at the bottom again, and just to make sure, you know, that it's exactly the same. You know, so, you know, here we go, you know, here we go again. We can see that here's another layer there, and we can see if this is going to work. Hopefully all of them are secured, and there it is. Yep, it is. So you can see we've already got the side going, which is, you know, it's going to starting to look pretty good. So now I need to adjust this layer a little bit. I can go back again and I can adjust it by using the tools there at the bottom of the screen. You can adjust it there. You see the ones that I brought up, and you can move it around and make sure that it's exactly the way, the size that you want it to be. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to take another layer on top of this one here, and I'm going to start using it with another color. So I'm going to make this straight. I'm not going to make it the same as the handle that I have now. I'm just using kind of that handle as a bit of a reference, but I really want my handle to be a little bit more modern, so I want it to be kind of a straight version of this antique sort of Chinese box. And I'm going to make sure there it's straight again. And there, and since I'm using a different color, it's really quite easy for me to be able to see kind of more of what I'm drawing, and, you know, try to make sure that they're all closed up, because that again will be the key to making sure. And if it's not there, you can see there in that little corner, that will probably be a problem, and that won't show at the end. I will show you that because I'm doing clipping mask, that my double will not show, and see, it did not go. So now I've got to find out what's the problem. Where isn't it going? What's going on with it? You know, where do I have it not going? There, and there it went. So sometimes you have to play with it a little bit to make sure you get that color in, but getting that color in for clipping mask, I cannot stress this enough, is really, really important. And to work with home decor design and home furnishing design using clipping mask is so much easier than anything else. And I will show you why, because it's going to give you a really clean look and finish at the end, because clipping mask will click on top of it. So now I'm using another color of purple for the other side over there, and just basically doing this very sort of small square here that's sort of needed to be done. If you've noticed too that I've taken two of my fingers and sort of turned the pages around, which is a great thing that you can be able to do here with Procreate. You know, try to get it a little bit as adjusted as I can, move it into its shape there, just to make sure that it's kind of adjusted so I can go into a lot of detail here to be able to see. And I'll just put in the color and see if that color will work, and yes, it did. Now basically I just have one line, one left here. So go back in again, pick another color, and we're going to do that with that very last side there. And again, like you can see, I picked a contrasting color that's just contrast enough. I just pick any color, honestly, because it doesn't really matter, like I've said at the end, when you do the clipping mask, because everything on this is going to be clipping mask. And there we go. So there, my box is pretty much done. We'll go back and we need to turn on the other layers just to make sure, and to be able to check it to see, and you can see there's the whole box is done. Now the next thing that I need to do, I think we need to adjust that layer a little bit. If you need to adjust any of them, then you can adjust them just to make sure that there's no problem there, because you can see there's a little bit of a gap there. I'm just going to try to move that out and put that in and see if I can get that just right there. You know, so that does help to make a difference, that you can kind of adjust it a little bit. Let's see if I can move that down, the other layer here. So, you know, you can play with this a little bit and just make sure you get it as close as possible to make it look as good and as clean as you possibly can. You know, sometimes you might even have to, move in a bit with a bit more detail. So now I'm going to do a little bit of clipping mask here, which I'm going to show you then how to do that after I've finished adjusting some more of these here, just to make sure. So you got to adjust when you're on that layer. That's the whole point there. If you're not on the actual layer you need to adjust, you can't adjust. So that becomes a little bit of a problem that you've got to adjust, or you can take an eraser like I am here, where I'm just going to kind of go in and just erase that part a little bit. And that's also one option that you can do, is you can kind of erase a little bit on a layer. That will also help it a little bit. So if you need to, you could also use the eraser tool, which is also another great tool, which will help you just clean up a couple edges or clean up a couple things that you might need to clean up, like I'm doing it right there. So you can see right here how that little eraser tool just gave a little bit more, the detail to it. Go back to that other layer there. I can kind of do a little bit the same thing on it that I need to, and just, sort of clean up everything so everything looks kind of a bit clean. And I can kind of add another line on it if I need to, and just make sure that it's exactly the way that I want it to be for this particular design. So here I am going back again. I'm going to do some more, like a little bit of an erasing there. You can see how that just makes it look a little bit cleaner. So you use the eraser tool the same way you will use the pencil tool, except you put it on the eraser. You can see up there above that I have the eraser tool on it. So you use it exactly the same way, and you have to make sure you erase on the layer you want to erase. I can't stress that enough. Again, we are working on layers, and if you're new to Procreate, that's probably one of the #1 mistakes that I know I make, is layering. I forget to add layers and I wonder why I'm having a problem. So if you're really not sure, you can make sure with that. So now I'm going to go back and look at all of these to see for my box itself, just to make sure. So you can turn off the layers. You've noticed there that I've sort of clicked and turned them off. The layers are still there. When I click them back on, they will come back on. But I'm just kind of here. I just want to check a few things here just to make sure that it's completely the way that I want it to be. There's not something that I need to redo on this. So, you can also spend a lot of time working and checking this and doing everything you need to. Sometimes I check the pencil again just to make sure I'm on the right one, and I might change to the Procreate pencil, just because it might be better. I need to now, the reason why I've gone back over the layers is I am going to draw the black lines for the boxes. So I had to turn off everything here. So you can see now I'm drawing these black lines on them, getting them straight, making sure they're in the right place. There's one there. So I'm using the yellow color so I can really see it. Then I can move it out. There's another one right there. So I need to be able to see everything, but the layers that I've done before are still here. I am just now trying to layer so we can see the lids for the boxes. So if it's not quite right, double tap and then go back. And then it should be better. So this one is not going to be a box because this is just the part for the lid. So I'm just going to be using the lines here. And these lines will all be the same color. So that would be fine to be able to keep them all onto one layer. Now I go back and I can turn everything on. And you can see here now the full shape of the box. And now we're ready to do the fun part, which is we're going to be ready to do some clipping mask after we've checked. Now I'm going to bring this down below the handle there, so it's going to be under the handle, which is what I want. So there we've moved the layer down, and because we want to make sure that's under the handle, not on top of it. If we need to move it again, we will move it again. But I think it's now pretty much, looks like it's pretty much secure. Okay, so we can move and adjust any layers we need to. Now the first thing we're going to do is going to insert a file, and we're going to start doing the clipping mask. And the clipping mask, I've got a lot of different albums set up here with a lot of different finishes, and here I'm going to use this gold finish. and you need to make sure it's over where you're going to do the clipping mask. It's going to clip on whatever underneath it, and there it will clip mask onto that. Because on this one here, my base is going to be gold. Again, I'll do the same thing. I have to repeat this. I have to repeat it again. You can also copy duplicate the layer, but I just find it sometimes easier. And sometimes I use different colors of gold too. If I'm using, I want to be able to see that there's more differentiation. I might use a different color of gold sometimes, just because I want to make sure that you can kind of see it. It really depends a little bit on kind of like what I'm doing. But it's really easy if you kind of get all your photos preset up ahead of time into albums like this. There, I'm going to use that same gold there for the boxes, because I want the edges of those boxes to also be able to be gold. So here I'm going to go and find the same one, the same gold color chip that I have. And this will be, it's got to go over the entire thing. You can see right there, it wasn't quite, that would not have worked, but if it's over the entire one, then it works. So that's very important. If it has to be, it will only clip and mask whatever is over the entire one. So here we need to do the handle parts. I mean, this can seem kind of tedious maybe, but actually really it's kind of like what needs to be done to be able to do this. And again, we do the same metal finish, and then we clip and mask. So we're going to do this for every single layer. You add a layer, go get the photo that you want to, import the photo, and then clip and mask it. So clip and mask essentially means that you are going to move it into the shapes. You can see right now I'm using a different color gold. So I do that sometimes in that, and that didn't quite work out, so we can actually take another layer onto it. We can erase it, so you can go back again, and we can decide we want to use that gold. We think that gold's a little bit closer. It will just look a little bit better. And you can see now, you can see there's a little bit more definition between, some of the gold parts again. So we want to be able to kind of see that edge, because if you use the same color when you're designing like this, like especially golds and some of the others, it's sometimes it's hard to actually see the line where it is, and it just doesn't look as real as if you used an actual one. So there is another one right there, and we're going to clip and mask that one there. You can see how nicely that kind of fits together there. And then we have the last one there at the very edge. We have to do the same thing with. Sometimes when I'm working with home decor designs, I can have 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or even I can have a whole bunch of layers. So really, to do this type of design work on Procreate, you really have a lot of layers. So just so you know and you understand that. And there's going to be the last one there right now. But despite the fact that we're using with layering, I mean, this whole design has not taken us that long. So it really is not that difficult to be able to do this type of work on Procreate. It actually is quite easy. So now I can check it out and I can see exactly how everything is looking here. And if there's anything that I need to change or adjust, I can start doing that now on some of these layers and start making it look a little bit better. I'm going to go again with the eraser pencil. I see an area right up there that I kind of want to erase down a little bit. And then I can do that there with the eraser pencil, just to give it a little bit more of a sharper edge. So you can see you can move in. So if you're not quite sure, then kind of move in a little bit with the eraser. And if you make a mistake, you can double tap and it will go back to what it was before. So double tapping is kind of like you know, if you made a mistake on like Photoshop or something, you go back and you go back through it and correct it a bit. So you can go in and kind of correct some of these things. You can kind of try to move some of the layers again to kind of adjust it so it kind of looks a little bit better. And this sometimes can be a little bit fussy, can take a little bit of time to do, and you might have to go back in and then, you know, go in again and kind of erase it again at the top part there. But at the end of the day, it's going to look much better, you know, looking at all these little tiny details. So this is, you know, again, one of the great things about Procreate is that you can go in and you can do all these little details. You can get all these little details, you know, correct that you need to get them correct. So there's our box again right now, and we can look at it again and see what else we need to adjust. There's a couple of areas right there. We can see onto one of these layers, the pink layer there, which is on the side. That could just go up a little bit slightly so they're joined together completely. And so that there's no funniness or no gap between them at all. So we can kind of like adjust that just to make sure that it's exactly the way we want it to be. And then we can check it out now to see. So now I'm going to pick a color here, and I want to do this kind of a white, and we can kind of decide. I want to do this box be white and gold, and then I just put the color over it, you see, and you see how the color kind of went over that part. But now what we need to do is need to add a layer, and then we put the layer on top of that, and then we do the same thing, clipping mask, and there it is. So again, with the green one, again, the green side, we need to, so we're gonna adjust this a little bit more. We're gonna choose a bit of a different color. This is the great thing, you can play around with all these colors. If you're not sure, if it's not quite the white you want, or if it's not quite the color you want, you can kind of decide and play around with it a little bit. So I sometimes do that a bit, play around with it, and decide that maybe this white might look a little better, kind of against the gold, and I like that white. And I'll do it on the green one, and there's the clipping mask again. And you can kind of see there is the box that we have done. That we have taken it and we've updated a Chinese antique box, and right now I can export it. You can see here you can add a different background color if you want to, and also if you want to, you can use the same design and you can add other designs and play around with it. This is Anita from Mindoro, and thank you so much for listening, and we'd love to have you subscribe to our YouTube channel and join with us. And please check out our blog at mindoro.com, mondoro.com. And if you have any needs for creating, developing, or manufacturing home decor and home furnishing products here in Asia, please do contact us. We'd love to hear from you.